Hello everyone and welcome to ADHD True Colors, where today we're going to dive deep into what holds neurodivergent, neurotypical couples back from breaking free together. Today's topic is the blame game. How it is holding you secretly stuck in old trauma. You think you're arguing about the dishes, but in reality you're opening old wounds and reliving them. And blaming just hits rewind. You think you're fine? Adorable.
You think, I don't have any problems. Just a D&D and D thing. That's what it is.
But don't forget, even low-key blame can hit the brakes on healing. And trust us, you want to hang around till the end, because we will reveal why, in spite of all the efforts both partners make, in the end, still things don't work out. What is real trauma? Or what is trauma altogether? It's an event that occurs that is very distressful and actually overwhelms you so hard that you can't cope with it.
So now we're going to focus on trauma because we want to blame trauma for the problems between the ND and the NT in a relationship. That's the only blame game we're going to do.
Okay, let's do a self-check. You might think that you don't have trauma because, we have these ideas that trauma is something spectacular or really dramatic, but check it out, because sometimes and mostly in our normal lives, traumas can be seemingly unimportant things that happened a long time ago, but there will still be and can be very distressful, and it is also very easy to confuse them with personality traits, and that makes it really hard to untangle them. Maybe we should go into this deeper. For example, a personality trait, or what is related to your condition, and what is a real trauma, a real traumatic event.
And I also want to warn you all, we are not specialists. We are not trained. We are just like two old people discussing this every day. Like, how can we get out of these seemingly endless discussions about whose territory, whose fault, and why, and stuff like that. Because for so many years, almost 30, we always ended up like the beginning was a small stress situation. Whatever the reason was, something lost, something broken. Even if none of us had something to do with it, it just started and an avalanche came down, and it always ended up in...
Overwhelmed,
tired.
Yeah. We stayed stuck in this pattern for a very long time because we didn't have a diagnosis, at least for your part. My partially sighted, well, that's quite obvious. It is... When you're in a stress situation, you've got one trigger, as we said in the intro, when you're doing the dishes together and you're getting to an argument about, you all know this, something stupid happens, whatever. You might even just be making too much noise while you're doing the dishes.
Yeah, yesterday we had a day like that.
Yeah, we got up in the morning because we wanted to make the podcast that we're doing now yesterday, and we had a really rough night. We got a viral bug that was in our head because we had really bad sleep. We had nasty nightmares.
Something in the brain wants to imagine if you could find somebody to blame.
You all know this. It happens so often. You feel you're off, and then you try to avoid the confrontation. But in trying to avoid it, you're already anticipating the blame game. That's actually, I'm sure I'm gonna annoy you. And then the first thing you know, yesterday was the speaker cable that seemed to have a defect. We love listening to music. It's very important to us. So having one of the speakers out was very distressing.
Yeah, so I had a rough night and I wanted to stay liminal to organize what was happening in my brain. And I thought like some classical music, and I put my vintage Denon amplifier on, and I just had one channel, and I started like, why?
Broke. Somebody was careless with the mini jack, and now it's broken.
There is nobody else than me and
so if somebody
Michaela
broke it must have been me. So I start going, okay, I'm gonna stay calm, not gonna get nervous.
Yeah, and I started questioning her. Are you sure you didn't pull the cable?
Yeah,
or
didn't you careless.
No, I didn't. And then she started annoying me.
Even a little bit more. You know, this is where things go tick, tick, like a little time bomb ticking.
The famous trigger stacking.
The famous trigger stacking. So we go through our morning routine. We stretch, we sing, la la la. And then the second thing you know
we want to prepare breakfast.
We prepare breakfast, and guess what? Our
Fermented.
fermented veggies are fish, and the new ones are still fermenting and not yet ready. So this is
Next disaster.
next disaster. Eggs without fermented vegetables. If that happens to you, you're in deep shit.
Yeah.
But
If you invite us and you don't have fermented vegetables.
woo-hoo. But anyway, so we keep going because we really want to do things right. Doing the dishes, and he's spilling some water. But you don't say anything.
No, I go for a cloth.
Yeah,
To clean it up.
Right, but I'm...
In the same time, when I run away to
I
get
walk
the
to
cloth,
the kitchen.
she walks in the kitchen and she starts dancing in the kitchen.
Plats, plats, plats. So he comes back.
And I feel like really offended. But really, I mean, my heart was almost broken.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a trauma. That's a child trauma. So I say like, I want to say like, oh, shit, yeah, you're running into this, you're making a mess in the kitchen. I wanted to keep it clean and all this stuff. And I said, no, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. She hasn't seen the water on the floor. And that's why she's walking in it.
Yep, which meantime, I already realized that I did. Before we had a diagnosis, it would be actually the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because I would go into a panic mode, because doing something wrong is humiliating, and we both were actually going into this, we're gonna get punished for this. Somebody's gonna come and punish us for making a mess.
Which are, in both cases, childhood traumas.
And these are really red flags going up that you're dealing with childhood trauma. However,
Sorry.
yeah,
Because the childhood trauma has nothing to do with being diagnosed with ADHD. It has nothing to do with that. It had to do with my mother who had a lot of migraine attacks when I was a very small child. And so the idea to get everything organized and to be quiet and stuff like that was for me very important to not bother her, helping to avoid the next migraine attack. I'm not sure if it was helping, but it doesn't matter. It was just like as a child, you take the responsibility and you want to do better to please your mother instead my mother.
Yeah. If you can't see the difference between the old trauma, which is from your childhood, and the traits that are typically related to a condition, it is really hard to find your way out of the situation. But like, for example, yesterday, what we both did is you realized that you were triggered. You were going to be punished. And what did you say to yourself?
Now, first of all, I said to myself, like, nobody in this house, just she and me, are going to punish you. So let it go. And the second thing was something like, apologize for being so stressy about Michaela running into the water on the floor. And I just said like, yeah, I'm sorry. It was just a reaction. I explained what I was feeling. And everything was all right after that.
It was so much easier to listen to what he says, to accept the reassurance, because that's what he did. He reassured me that I was okay and that he was having an overload. And for me, it was possible to listen to what he was saying and to talk with the back part, the old part of my brain, which is not cognitive but emotional, and actually get in there and, okay, it's fine. Nobody's here to punish me, to punish him, and we both are able to deal with this in like adults. And there was no need to even further discuss it, because we didn't feel the need to blame each other, which is a big difference with before. I would say, why do you react so aggressive? And he would say, why do you act so defensive? If you notice or you get the comment, you're acting like a baby or like a small child, there's a big red flag that you might have to do with the childhood trauma, because we tend to go in regression, and once you're there, you're helpless. So it's very important to train your awareness of what's going on. You have to know exactly what is related to a condition and what not, because what is related to the condition, you probably can't change that. I can't change him getting an overload, and he can't give me a better eyesight. That we can't change, but the way we deal with the coping mechanisms that are long outdated, that we can, and it makes things easier, because you're okay, I understand you, you understand me, and we can both move forward. I'm sure that there are moments when you have asked yourself, why on earth did I get together with my partner? Because it seems like it doesn't make sense. You're arguing the whole time and stuff like that, and you don't seem to understand each other. But actually, I think we don't choose or come together with our partners by accident. There's a reason. And maybe this reason is not obvious on first sight. But if you look at it more profoundly, then you will probably find that actually what is provoking your emotional reactions that are related to childhood trauma are just these subjects or things in your life that you should actually be paying attention to. Because if you don't, it stays there and it will slowly make you sick. We should advise you that if you're dealing with trauma and you find yourself having trouble handling it, you should seek help. That is sure. Well, it's another subject and we will come back to it in a later podcast because therapy is another subject.
Choice of partner.
Yeah, right.
I think it's like in these folk stories, I think, like fairy tales, but very old, like the Grimm brothers. A young person starts his or her journey of the hero in four quadrants. The first, you have to leave where you are. Then you encounter somebody who's going to help you. And I think this is what the function very often is of the partner. It's like this tiny green figure that gives you advice on your travels, like watch out for this, or maybe you have to take this, or whatever, or look for that. And then you go into the cave, and that's the part like Yoda helps Luke to find himself and see what is his purpose in life when he has to fight his father and stuff like that in this cave. And then he comes out of this cave being somebody else, somebody who has grown. Then he has to go back to the world where he's coming from to share the insights with his community. That's what we have to do. I think this Yoda person, even if your partner is not that wise as Yoda, still is somebody who is going to help you to progress on your journey.
That is so well said. There are 3 ways in which couples develop coping mechanisms for getting around trauma. The first one is one of the partners goes into regression. This means goes back to the time, the childhood trauma. And the other one holds his ground, or stays grounded rather, stays in the actual position as an adult. This can work because the adult can understand the child and help it, respect the child's needs.
I think the most important thing, the partner who stays adult position, what he or she has to do is like look at the other one and say like, okay, the other one is facing a childhood trauma. And the only thing he needs now is compassion and somebody who doesn't jump on the train. Who is not gonna put out fire with gasoline. Just says like, okay, get a bucket of water.
This can work, but it's on the condition that it's only in certain situations and also that it can change, that there is not one...
That it's a dynamic system.
Yeah. Exactly, because if it's not dynamic, then there's always one the parent, one the child, and then you get this really not very balanced relationship, which is more parent-child than actually equal partners.
And the child can never become an adult in this relationship.
Exactly, so it's not... It could help you out in certain situations, but I wouldn't say that it's on the long term very sustainable as a system. And then the second part is where you both go back to your childhood trauma, and this is red alert. That's a recipe for disaster. You shouldn't go there because you will keep triggering and
you will end up fighting like small children.
Put 2 9-years-old together in a stressful situation, and I mean that's what you will get, and that's really bad.
That's why you need teachers in the classroom.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So if you end up there, pull the emergency brakes and look for a solution ASAP.
Yeah.
Bad news.
You could call it toxic.
Yeah, that's really bad. And then the third option is when, ideally, both remain their adult composure. And as we did yesterday, be able to listen to yourself, to your partner, and that is sustainable because you can take decisions together. Because we decided yesterday that, okay, we did this, but we're not in good shape, so we're going to do the recordings tomorrow, which is then today.
We both came to the same conclusions. Do you feel all right? And she answered, no, actually, I had a very bad night. I had nightmares. Yeah, for me, it's exactly the same.
This changes also the amount of energy that you lose. Because before in the years we didn't have a diagnosis and we were still trying to resolve problems the old way, we would lose tons and tons of energy fighting each other and being afraid. Because what you would do is you would withdraw. You would go to your room, close the door, and you wouldn't come out for hours. And I would be desperate because somehow it always felt like he's gone forever. It takes days, sometimes weeks, before things are fixed again. If you're trying to work as a team and you're in a project, you don't know where you are at. You can't start, you have to start again from zero, but everything you did before is down the drain. Each time again, repairing your wounds, but you're not really healing as long as you do not distinguish trauma from traits and come into the trust and understanding of your own problem. Because the blame game is what actually causes this energy drain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you as a neurotypical could blame me because I was not capable of handling a situation because of my ADHD. But in reality, very often it's your panicking, your PTSD that kicks in when there's a little bit of stress. And without knowing this, and just like you do this and I do that, and then she starts talking much faster and with a high-pitched voice. In a moment I need like to calm down. Somebody, this kind of sound is, I mean, it's horrible. I can't have it. And that's not her normal voice, so it's even worse, like, and she changes. And I have this feeling like I have to take care of a small child, and I don't want to take care of a small child when I'm in my childhood trauma, because then I am a child myself. I had this responsibility on a very early age to take care of my brother. I really wanted to flee.
Run away, yeah.
And then you get into this like fight, flight, or freeze reaction. So when she starts acting as a child because she's fighting with her childhood trauma, having this high-pitched voice, then I have to run away. And after the running comes like the hiding. And now I know she feels like being abandoned. And after a while, when you have trained this, you can feel the first trigger and not the seventh or the ninth. You say like, uh-oh, here I go again. And it's not here we go. It's not here she goes. No, it's here I go again. Hold it, stop everything, and then say like, there's something wrong. Just give me a minute. Most of the time it happens in a few seconds. Like, oh, yes, because of blah, blah, blah. This is coming. And I already know the story. If I keep on going this track, it's going to end up badly.
You can open the door and look at yourself and say, oh, but I can get into this. I can go and sit behind the wheel of my own mind and change the direction, make a new path. Sometimes you think it's going very slow, but when you get to understanding the difference between the things you can change and the things you can't change, that brings down the total load of what you're trying to resolve. This makes things go faster or not so slow. And for me, for example, I come from a dysfunctional, highly competitive family. I was the youngest, and all the other kids, they were fighting, how do you say that?
Fighting for the first prize.
Yeah, to get narcissistic mom's attention. It was war, and I had to fight, 10 times as hard as all the rest of them, trying to be better than them and trying to put myself in the front, which makes me very afraid of failing. And an incredible people pleaser and a codependent. But that is strictly not related to whether or not I have a visual deficiency, because if I look at my siblings, they all have good eyesight, but oh God! So let's wrap it up. The chance that you do not have childhood trauma is rather small. It doesn't have to be spectacular, but most people in our society have had to deal with nasty experience in their childhood. If you don't, well, good for you. The best way to deal with it is to look at yourself and not try to change the other. It looks easier on first sight, and many people do it. We have this habit of blaming other people's for our own problems, but believe us, it doesn't help. You need faith, courage, and love to retune your brain, connect your hearts. One thing comes to mind that explains very well, or that makes the point of what we're actually trying to share with you here. It's Matthew. We're going to try and translate it because we've learned this in our mother language, which is Flemish. So we're going to give it a try. You will keep looking at the splinter in your brother's eye while you forget to look at the log in your own.
Think about that.
That's it for today's podcast. Thank you guys for being here with us. If you want to help this channel grow, please subscribe. And if anything in this podcast has triggered you, and you have a question or you want to know more about anything or a topic, please leave a comment.
See you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Take care. Bye for now.
Ciao.
You think you're doing the dishes, but you're not.
This is the Matrix. Actually. You lie in a pot.
Yeah.
Your whole body is
So,
tubes. What else? Traveling tubes?
okay.